Hey there, it's CJ Willie, and I'm back with another Magic the Gathering opening experience. I was able to play in a pre-release event for Duskmourn House of Horror. I had a lot of fun at the event. I did pretty well. I went 4-1 through the 5 rounds. I'm going to go over my Duskmourn sealed deck, and for those that stick around, I'll be giving away the Arena Code. Alright, taking a look at the open box real quick. It's Duskmourn House of Horror. So it's got the house with the staircase, a little bit of a freaky vibe on the back. See how that spiral staircase goes? Okay, inside it has the typical punch out, stun counter, finality counter, +1/+1 counters. Some punch outs that you can use to indicate if you've locked or unlocked the doors on the enchantment rooms, and some more counters, flying, and I'm not sure what this would be. Maybe lifelink? That would be my guess. With a creepy visual of Valgavoth. Alright, I'll put that to the side. As you can see, my pre-release promo was Waltz of Rage. Won't stay in the plastic. I'll take it out of it so I can share that Arena Code. Got a really cool die with the yellow background. And then a card divider featuring Valgavoth. Okay. Before I get right into the deck tech, which you can probably guess is white-blue, one of my very favorite archetypes to do in both sealed and draft, go over some of the cards that I didn't play. My blue and white was pretty stacked, so there's only just a handful of cards that I didn't play there. I felt that it was good enough that I didn't need to splash a third color. That's a very true statement because blue and white took me all the way to the top 5 with a 4-1 record. My black wasn't the strongest, and black doesn't tend to be a relatively strong color in Duskmourn House of Horror. If I had played black, I would have loved to play Let's Play a Game, Murder, Popular Egotist. Those are some pretty good cards. But aside from that, nothing that was really gonna take me down that road. I did consider red, but I just didn't have much in the way of creatures. I had some good cards that, if they're in the right synergy, do well. Grab the Prize, Hand That Feeds are pretty good. Razorkin Horde Caller is another good card. Scorching Dragonfire. I kind of thought about splashing with a little bit of red for Scorching Dragonfire, Razorkin Horde Caller, and one other card that I'll show here in a second. But I decided against it, and I'm glad that I didn't splash. Green typically is strong, but I picked up mainly survival cards instead of manifest cards, and there just wasn't a lot of depth in green, so I crossed that out. I toyed with splashing green for 2 cards, and I'll show those in a second, but it just didn't seem to be the right direction. In the multicolor Beastie Beatdown, if I'd gone green-red, I think this is a great card. Didn't really have much in the way of blue-red. I would only use these 2 cards if I was trying to do some sort of reanimation, and black was weak, and white didn't seem to be my stronger color, so I decided not to go that route. Picked up some artifacts. Malevolent Chandelier was in my sideboard if I needed it to get rid of some of my opponent's Delirium graveyard shenanigans. I did have a couple of the common dual lands. Neither of them were interesting. I may have considered Etch Cornfield if I wanted to splash the green. For my foil cards, didn't get any rares or mythics in the foil. Jump Scare made it into my deck, but not with the foil because I got plenty of regular copies of Jump Scare. Under the Skin was one card I would have considered splashing for green if I went that route. And then some foil lands. Rares that I didn't play, Leyline of the Void. I just don't think it's necessary to play these unless your opponent's going crazy heavy on graveyard. My opponents really didn't do too much, and Delirium didn't seem to factor in many of the games. Twitching Doll was a green card I might have splashed just for some mana ramping, and then maybe get to the point where I've got a bunch of spiders out there. I really wanted to play the Jolly Balloon Man. Just with the color pairing I had in white and blue, and no splashing, no Terramorphic Expanses, no dual lands that tap for it. Didn't seem to make sense to throw a couple of mountains in my deck hoping that I could play the Jolly Balloon Man. And with these cards, I will have put the prices down below. Peer Past the Veil wasn't a consideration unless I went red-green. So I'll move those out of the way, or just put them back up here. That way I can keep them in order when I put them away in their boxes. All right, onto the deck. I'll start with the creature side of it. Was really trying to go Eerie. I didn't have a lot of Eerie payoffs, but it seemed like the synergy of the cards that I did play worked out pretty well. In Veteran Survivor, I never got to the point where survival mattered on this, but it was good to have a 1-drop out there that's a 2/1. Get in a couple attacks before it dies. Stocked Researcher. This was my one Eerie card where I was able to get in with the 3/3 on turn 3. Creeping Peeper. I had it in this deck for one reason, and you'll see it here in a little bit. The ability to spend mana for enchantments and rooms, or even if I was going to manifest something, did come in handy. Flood Pit's Drowner. It's just a good lock down a creature on my opponent's side for a turn or two until I can get ahead in advantage. What's interesting is for the first little bit, I thought that this creature had flying. Just looks like it's a flyer. And I completely missed that it had Vigilance. I think there's a couple of times in the first couple of games I played where I actually tapped it and neither I nor my opponent picked up that it had Vigilance. Split Skin Doll actually paid off a ton. More often than not, I already had creatures down with power 2 or less, so I was just drawing a card. Even the couple of times that I rummaged, it worked out pretty well. Silent Hall Creeper is pretty good. For 2 mana, it can't be blocked. I get 3 turns of swinging in with it, get some counters on it, draw a card, make a copy of another creature that's bigger and better. I really like this as a 2-drop. Inquisitive Gleamer helped me out with some of my enchantments, my bigger enchantments, just reduce the cost. Fear of Imposters was pretty good. Counter one of my opponent's bigger threats. Sure, they get a manifest out of it, but I get rid of 9 times out of 10 the creature or the spell that's gonna really cause me problems. Glimmer Seeker worked out sometimes. I had 2 copies of those. One was a foil, one was a regular. More often than not, I would get a Glimmer token. In a couple of games, I was able to draw a card off of it with some combat tricks like Jump Scare. Friendly Ghost, I really liked it quite a bit. It was the type of card that would enter, give another creature +2/+4, go in for a pretty big attack and know that my creature wasn't going to die because the butt was big. Most often the damage went through. Clammy Prowler, it won me like one game where I attacked with it and another creature and my opponent couldn't block the other creature. One of the bombs in my deck was Nico. 4/4, 3/4. When it enters, creates 2 shard tokens. I can pay 2, tap Nico, exile a non-legendary creature I control, and then make those shards a copy of that creature. I was able to do that a couple of times, and one of the times it ended the game as I was able to exile a flyer and then attack with 2 3/3 flyers. Fear of Immobility. I really played it because I needed another creature. It was an enchantment and it stunned something. Daggermaw Megalodon. I never once played it as a 5/7. I always island cycled it and it worked out beautiful. There was never a time where I wished, oh, I should have had this 5/7 Vigilance out there. Nah, it just smoothed my draw when it came to islands. And for my big bomb that won me every single game, the 3 games that I lost, an early game, I never was able to play it. The final game where I lost twice, one time I didn't play it, and then the second time I played it and it immediately got taken care of, was Overlord of the Mistmoors. Incredible card. 4 mana, it comes down as an enchantment. I get 2 2/1 flyers. I think there were only 2 games where I actually got to the point where Overlord became a creature because impending counters had worn off. Every other game, I just needed it to hit the battlefield, and those 2 flyers along with my other tricks usually won me the game. The Overlord, A++. It was a really good card in my deck. On to the spells. I only had 1 room that I could play, but it was a good one. 1/2 gives me a 1/1 white glimmer enchantment creature token. Fine enough. Triggers Eerie. Triggers my draw on the 2 Glimmer Seeker creatures in white. The other side of it, I can unlock and put up to 1+1/+1 counter on 2 different creatures. Just grew some of my flyers from the Overlord, or grew some of my creatures on the ground and they got through for additional damage. Jump Scare, absolutely love it. Have 2 copies here. I guess if I really wanted overkill, I could have played that foil copy. 1 combat, got my creatures up in the air. Single white, beautiful. Shard Mage's Rescue, just as good. Single white mana, when it enters the battlefield, enchanted creature has hexproof. Saved a couple of my important creatures at various times in games. Gives them an additional +1/+1. So I like that. The next 3 spells are just creature control. Don't Make a Sound was a great counter early on in the game. I didn't mind if at the end of the game my opponent had enough mana to pay for the 2, because I got a Surveil 2 off of it and dig into a card that I needed to finish out. Unable to Scream. When they say Swords to Plowshares in blue, they are correct. Really, really good card. And Vanish from Sight. I love Temple Plays in white-blue. Reset their draw or have that non-land permanent go to the bottom of their deck. And then the final card, I pulled a Special Guest Noxious Revival. Didn't mind putting it in the deck. I'll pay 2 life to bring my Overlord back so I can just play it again. It's a cool card. It's got some value to it. I think around $8 or so. I kind of felt guilty playing it because it's a card from an older format, but because it's included in the packs, I can use it in part of my deck. So that was my Duskmourn House of Horror sealed deck. All right, before I get into the outro, I'll go ahead and share the giveaway code for Arena. So let me get this opened up. I don't play Arena, so I don't mind giving away these codes for someone to be able to play them. So there's my awesome Waltz of Rage. And the token with the locked roomed punch out, flying, -1/-1 finality counter. All right, slow reveal, here we go. Okay, there is the Arena code. If you are the one that gains this Arena code, please leave a comment below so others will know. I'll set that back there with the other side of my punch out card with a stun +1/+1 and lifelink. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, please like, subscribe, and share. Tell me in the comments section what you think about my sealed deck from Duskmourn House of Horror. Until next time, when I am back with another Magic the Gathering opening experience.